Hi everybody. Okay, this next tutorial, it's actually going to be kind of fun. We're gonna have a photograph we took of our volunteer, and we're going to animate our volunteer. We're actually going to be able to play them in 4 different animations, as many as we want. So here's one animation we made of him. We're simple. We just took the photo and using skeletal bones, we are making him wave. Then I have a second animation here where we're just making him dance. And then we have a third animation here where I actually kind of made him jumping up and down on one leg. So this is a fun thing you could do. So let's start over again with another scene to start from the beginning. So first we have this new scene, and we're gonna have to make a Um, we're gonna have to drag in a transparent image of our person. These things here, this is from the one that I just made. So I'm gonna like delete these so we could together start over again from scratch here. Okay, and the animation controller deleted. Okay, so this is the way you would have it if you just have a new scene. What I did in the previous video is I took this image of our volunteer and open up in photos. Okay. Took this image of our volunteer. I just took it with my camera, my smartphone. And then that image, I just erased out all the background. Opened with photos again. Erased out the background so that it's just him and the background's erased. And that tool that I used to erase the background, it's basically something I found online, so you don't even have to download or install it. It's this tool, www.favicon-generator.org/image-editor. So yeah, this is another video I showed you how you could take the image here and, well, first image is very big. Let's flip it and rotate them to the right. Okay, and the image is very big. I hold control and the mouse wheel to zoom out. So right now, let's see how big the image is. The size of it is 4,000 by 4,000 about. Okay, so let's resize the image here to make it smaller. Let's say 1024 by 1024 and say okay. There we go. So now that's at 10%. I'm going to control zoom in. That's about 60%. I can see it on my screen now. Let me just clean up a little bit of these windows. Now I see them on my screen. And let me just make sure that when I had my file new, that the transparency was set to yes. Okay. That means this one has transparency on. I click the magic wand tool. And now I'll click areas that I want to select and blank out. And right here oops, can't do that one. Edit, undo. How about this? Good. This. Good. Getting out some major sections here, and that's good. How about the floor? Ah, good. So, oops, not good. Edit, undo. How about right here and right here? All right, so we just have a couple of areas that we're gonna have to work on manually. So let me pick the eraser tool, and the size of my eraser tool is a 20. That should be good enough. And now let me just try to get closer here for my edits. There you go. And down here at the bottom, I think I'll make it a little bigger. Just knock out all these lines here. Okay. And right there. It's okay if I mess up a little bit, we're not trying to be too accurate. We're just trying to show a how-to video. And notice that, I'm using a free online tool to get rid of the background. So this final touch-up stuff, it's not perfect, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay for our demonstration purposes. All right, so now I have the background erased. Now I just want to save that. And when I save it, I want to make sure I save the type as a PNG. That way it preserves the transparent background. And I'll just call this our volunteer. All right, so I'll say OK, and I'll put that on my desktop. So in the beginning, you do know that I resized the image, and that was because unless I had resized the image down from 4,000 pixels to the 1,000 pixels, it would have been too big to save as a PNG, and the program wouldn't have allowed me to save it as a PNG. So that's why I made the picture smaller than the original size it was from the camera. All right, so we do have here, we saved our volunteer's picture right here. So let's just move this off to the side. Done using that. Now in Unity, I'm going to take that picture and drag and drop it into my project. All right, so let's click on them. And we're going to do some editing for this sprite. When we dragged and dropped it into Unity, it became a sprite. Okay, so here in the properties for the sprite, there's a sprite editor. I'm going to click that. Now, sprite editor, this is where we're going to add the bones to the image so that we could, do the skeletal animation. So if you come to your sprite editor and it only shows these first three and not bone editor and skin weights, then you have to do a step here because by default, when you make a Unity project, it's not going to have the skeletal bones system in it. You're going to have to add the package over here, the 2D animation package. And the way you add a package is you go to Window, Package Manager, and I have the 2D animation package here, but if you didn't have it here yet, you could just click All Packages. You find the 2D animation package and you would click the Install button. Okay, so say I don't have the 2DIK package yet, I would click the Install button, and then it would show up in the project. All right, so the first thing you may have to do when you start a new project is you have to add in your 2D animation package like that. All right, then once it's added in, it'll show in the in-project side in this window here, and the button will change from install, and I'll say it like this with the remove. So let's say now that you completed that step of installing the package, now you go back to your sprite, and you do the sprite editor, and now you should see the bone editor that you could select. Now, when you select the bone editor, there's a little toolbar window that comes up over here, and there's two types of bones we're going to work with. There's these bones that are connected bones, and these bones that they call free bones. All right, so we're going to start off with a connected bone, the create bone. And usually for this type of humanoid model, I'm going to start from the hips, is where I'm going to place my first bone, and I'm going to go up to about here, and then I'm going to click to place that bone. And it's automatically going to be ready for me to place another bone, so I will do that right to the collar bone over here, and then one for his neck, and then one for his head. Okay, and then when I want to stop adding bones, I just right click. So now I have a main line of bones that's going up through his spine to the top of his head. Now when I want to add some free bones, they're going to be free because they're not actually going to be connected to these bones like this. They're going to kind of start from the shoulder. So I have to pick the bone I want to do my free bone to, and I'm going to pick, I think I'm going to pick this one. Let me see what happens when I pick that one. Free bone, and it's coming from down there. All right, so let me press escape, and let me try it from the neck bone here. Free bone, that's better. So I'm going to have it come from the shoulder to the elbow, and another free bone I'm going to attach is from this shoulder to the elbow. And then I want to continue that with, let's see, now I have to select the bone and do an attach bone down to the end of his arm. Then right click, pick this bone, and now do a connected bone down to the end of his arm. And then right click too. Now the other set of bones I want to add are for the legs. So let's start off from this bone right here and do free bone again. So I'll click and add my first free bone down to the knee. And I have another free bone I'll add over here down to the knee. And then I'll right click. And now for the connected bones, I'll pick this leg. I'll click and down to his foot. And then right click. And then another one over here. I'll click down to his foot. There, so now he has bones. That's the first step. I'm going to click apply. And the next step, I'm going to have to add geometry and weights. So I click from the sprite editor menu at the top, I click skin weights and geometry editor. And now I have a menu up here with some selections. The first button is geometry, and I'll press generate. So I'll make sure I have an outline detail. That's going to be how many vertices it places along the outside of the sprite. Then there's the alpha tolerance on when it decides a color or something is different, and the subdivision. So just, you're going to play around with this until you get something that you like, but you're definitely going to move them off from the zero, move them to the middle, move them over, and press generate to see if you have something you like. And this is working pretty good. I have an outline here, and I have a couple of points inside the body. So I like this. So I'm going to save it, press apply. So that was my second thing I did. I got the bones and I got the geometry. So now I have to connect the two somehow for when I move a bone, which geometry is it going to affect? So that's when I have weights coming into play. So you can see here weights, it's basically going to say for which bone, which vertices it moves. I'll just use the auto button. And there, it colors it in. As you can see, if I move this red bone, it's going to affect this red area. If I move this bone, it's affecting the shoulder. This one's here, and this one's for the head. And that's how the weights work. And now I'm just going to say apply. So there, I'm in my sprite editor, and I did my three things. My bones, my geometry, and my weights. And I saved it. Now I could close the sprite editor. Now I have a sprite that has bones attached to it. So if I drag it into the project, here we go. This white window is what would show in the 2D project in a 2D game. That's what this white window's demonstrating. Here he is, and he has bones in him, but they're not showing. I can't seem to move them or animate them yet. So I have to do one more thing. Now I click on the game object of the sprite, and I say add component, and I want to add a skin sprite. So let's see. When I first press the add component button, it's probably going to look like this for you, and there's many things you could add. So skin sprite is a script file that came in the 2D animation package that we just added to our project. So instead of searching for it, I could just say add component and start typing in skin. And then right here you could see the sprite skin script from the 2D animation package, and I'm going to add that script. Okay, so when I add that script, it's basically going to have an outline here for all the bones in my sprite. So all I have to do now is press create bones, and it'll take the bones from the sprite and add them into the script here. So now with the bones in here, if I click the tip of the bone, I could like change the angle, okay? If I click the bone itself, like somewhere in the middle, I could actually just totally move the bone. And look at that, he's like Stretch Armstrong over here, Fantastic Four. I didn't know we had those powers, huh guys? All right, so that's two ways I can move the bones. Now bones are related, so if this is the parent bone to the arm bone and you move the parent bone, you're gonna move all the children bones with it, okay? This head. So here we got all these things we could do, but if we want to save those motions and make an animation out of it, we have to use an animator window. So first let me reset his positions. Boop, there we go. And now we're going to open up an animator window. So we'll go to Window, Animation, and open up the animation window. And here mine is like this. If yours comes up somewhere over here, then you could just drag and drop it onto this area here like I have it so it could fit. So I have the volunteer, I have my sprite selected at the top level, not one of the bones. I have it selected at the top level, and then the animation should show the create button. If I had something selected that I can animate, then the animation will show create button. So now if I press create in the animation window, it's going to create an animation file for the thing I have selected. So I'll call this volunteer anim1, or I'll call it volunteer, I'll call it wave hi. How about that? Wave hello. Okay, that's going to be the name of the animation file. So now I have a set of keyframes here, and at 0 position, I could leave his pose like that. And let me turn on the record. At 0 position, I could leave his pose like that, and then I could just go to 5 seconds up here and change his pose to his hand up. And then in another 10 seconds, I want his hand to come back down where it was. I could just loop the animation here. I could select this, the first two cells of the animation, press Control C, and then here at 10 seconds, put it back to the original position with Control V. Sorry, Control V. All right, so now I have a really fast animation. Let me press play and see how it looks. Oh, and he's really flapping like a bird. He's flapping too fast. Let me spread the time out. So what I did here is I just drag and dropped, selected all the cells. And then I have these two little lines here. I'm going to drag out the lines to, oh, I just lost the selection. I'll drag out the lines and stretch the animation out to 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 45 seconds. Let's see that. And now I press play. And now you can see he's waving slower. Okay, so that's one animation we made, Wave Hello. If I look in my project window, here's the Wave Hello animation data that was created for Wave Hello. And this is the animation controller that basically is the first animation I made. It's the default animation in my animation controller. And an animation controller is just a way to specify what animation to play for my sprite. Okay, so if there's only one animation, by default, the line is gonna, when you press play on the game, it's gonna go right here and start playing Wave Hello. So right here, if I press play, there's only one animation right now, so it'll play that animation just like that. So we have that first animation. Let's add another animation. So I'll go back to make sure I have volunteer selected, animation. All right, and how do we add more animations for our character here? We could just go here and say create new clip. All right, so it's going to ask for a name of the file, and this one I'll call dance. Okay, we're going to make him do a little dance. So at frame 0, let's turn on record. At frame 0, we're going to have him start off at leaning to the side. That looks like exercise. Let's use this one. Nope, that's everything. Let's use this one then. He leans this way, and then um, at 10 seconds, let's have him lean the other way. And then here, let's have him just go back to the original. So Control C and Control V. And let's just see how that looks before I press play to see how it looks. Or I could also just scrub the top over here on the bar, the keyframe bar, to see the animation play. So in natural speed, yep, it's going too fast. So how do we stretch the time? We're just going to select, and then I could either make it faster or I could just spread it out. And let me use the mouse wheel here because I'm going to make it go even further. I'll make him go to like 1 minute 20 seconds. All right, so now if I press play, you can see he's taking his time. And there you go, that's the dance animation. And I did have one more animation, right? So let's add another clip and let's give it a name, jump. Okay. So with this one, let's turn on the record. At frame 0, I want him to start, let's have him start a little bit lower. I'm just gonna, this is the, oh, there we go. I just click it a little bit lower. So he's down here and, oh man, let me see. Let's make it that he's on the floor. Oops, I didn't want to move the bone. I want to rotate the bone. There, he's on the floor like this. And let's have him like crunching in to start. His hands up. He's gonna get ready to jump. I'm sorry I'm doing this to you, Mr. Volunteer. Okay. I don't know. He's thinking about this jump. And then from here, he will go up into the air at frame 15 seconds. So I had to select the bottom. He's going to go up to here, almost like off the screen. And his arms are going to be like, yes, I am jumping. Haha. And his legs will have pushed him and propelled him into the air. Mm-hmm. Uh-oh, that was a detach. Oh, so he's up in the air. You know what? I like that stretchy effect. Let me make this arm stretch out so that we could have like him have a stretchy arm here. It also looks like his arm got a little bit more muscular. Let's just stretch his arm out, okay? There. And then after he jumps in the air, I guess he'll come back down. So I zoomed out. Let me just make this a little bigger so I can see all the cells. Okay. Select all these position changes, Control C, and then have him when he comes back down, Control V, back to that again. All right. It's kind of a jump. Okay, so if I press play, there he goes. He's kind of hopping up and down. So there we go. That's how we have the animations play. And we animated our volunteer. So let's see, that's the jump animation. This is the dance animation. And we did another one for the wave hello. Bye. Thank you, volunteer.